with some of your answers. Yeah. It also lets you know the weighting, so how many marks are attributed to each section. And that can also help you think about how many words to write, what kind of effort to put in. Yeah. All right. So the other piece of paper I've given you is this cycle, and it's a iterative cycle. Iterative meaning we add on to it. It has iterations, meaning I might think I'm there, but then I am going to change it or add to it or just tweak it a little bit. So it's iterative. And so this has been put together by the Student Support Services, Mike Looker, and he presented it as like a lecture, and I made it into a cycle for you because I thought it was easier. But ultimately, this is the process that I'm going to ask you to come to. You will need to go through this cycle to be able to fill in here my research question.
Okay.
Yeah. To be able to get a research question, we're going to go through this process.
So I can like put it in now.
You could, but yeah, because you were quite close to a final question, I remember, from our task last week. Yes. So, but I still want you to go through this cycle with that question that you think you've got. Yep. Go through the cycle.
Yes, I'm going to put my question in the middle of the cycle.
Yeah, and then once you feel like, you know, I've done all this work and this is my question, then you can add it to your template. Yeah. Okay. Yes.
Thank you for this hard copy.
Oh, yes.
Could you can email us a soft one so
Yes.
we can just start filling in?
I'm going to
Thank you.
mention this. The soft copy or the electronic copy is in your eAkoranga forum. Yep.
Oh, thank you.
I've attached the PowerPoint slides and I've attached this document in a post called Aramatuai 2 in eAkoranga. All right, and so you've got the hard copy, you've got an electronic version in eAkoranga. Hopefully you've got everything you need to be able to start writing some things in. Okay, so let's go through it together so we understand. You might want to just write some notes, yeah, wherever you'd like to write notes. So obviously this is the Aramatuai number 2 for this Konai. And the instructions, it's 2,500 words. Don't get freaked out by that because it's chunked out throughout the assignment. It's like a whole series of projects joined together become one. We're focusing on Putanga 3, and the instruction is to prepare and produce a complete rangahau proposal that responds to a need or a question that's relevant to your teaching practice. Okay? And this is coming out of the assignment that you've just done. You've just completed a literature review on a topic of interest. Correct?
Yes.
And you generated 3 themes, and now you're going to generate 1 question in order to do this assignment. Okay. So, first part of the assignment is called the introduction. And in this section, you're going to need to provide 4 references, 150 words, so it has to be tight because 150 words is not a lot. And you're going to answer 4 questions. What is your topic generally? How does it align with the codes and standards? Okay, so we've done some work on that already. Why is your topic important to teaching in New Zealand? What are the implications of your topic for tauira, for kaiako, for a school, for a kura? And finally, what is your specific question? Okay, so those 4 questions, 150 words combined, and they go into the introduction section. The next part of the proposal is this thing called a rationale. And a rationale is 300 words. You're going to get, these slides are given to you in the Iakoranga. You need to provide 1 reference for this section. And this section is all about who are you as a kairangaho? What is your unique perspective? What do you bring to this question, to this topic? What is your ideology or your education theory that you align your philosophy to? Yeah? In year 1 you had a philosophy of education. This is what I think teaching is. This is what I think education is. And so talk about that a little bit more in this section. You could say, my teaching philosophy aligns with the Vygotsky theory, or Bronfenbrenner theory, or developmental, or kaupapa Māori, or gosh, behaviourist. So have a think about where do you fit. And in this section you're going to outline 3 objectives, outcomes that you hope to achieve through your rangaho. So another way to say that would be, these are my learning intentions. After doing this rangaho, these are the outcomes that I want. I want to know what teachers think about X. I want to create a list of strategies. I want to discover ways to practice this in the classroom. Yeah? For an example. Any questions about those first 2 sections of your report? So it's these 2 sections here, the grey and the purple. So the introduction is worth 8 marks, and the rationale, although it's more words, it's worth 6 marks. Okay. The next part of the report is on your 2nd page, and it's the literature review. Okay, so it's in this blue box here. The literature review, you're allowed 1,000 words, and ultimately you are bringing across your assignment from number 1. You've just done a literature review, and so you're bringing that across and repackaging it for this. So you don't necessarily have to do it again, but maybe you want to tighten it or add some more detail. So the literature review is 4 articles. So for your first assignment you did 6, yeah? So now you're choosing your best 4. And I want you to discuss 3 themes that came out of your literature. And I want you to discuss the gap or the area that your topic and your question is going to address.
Right, yeah.
And so that part will come from Aramatuai 1, part B, the evaluation, yeah?
Okay.
So that's one part that you've kind of already done. Okay. The next part is the sort of peachy coloured one. It's 10 marks, and it is the section that is probably the least known to you at this point. And so I will teach you about this. Don't worry about it. We will learn together. But it's the section where you're going to talk about methods, methodology. In our case, it's kaupapa wānanga. You're going to talk about materials and talk about participants.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so ultimately you're answering the questions down the side. And so in this section here, we will do some work on it together. We can read some research texts, help us understand. And you may have also read an article in your literature review which has a method and a way of selecting participants that you like, and you thought, yeah, no, I could probably do that for my assignment too. I could talk to 6 teachers, I could do interviews, I could make a questionnaire. So it's thinking about what method fits the design of your question. What's the best way to go about getting the answers for my question? That's that whole section there. And so ultimately, the big part of this is your method. And so I'll teach you stuff about this. You know, is it qualitative or quantitative? What type of design will we choose? I can give you information and help you know that. Kaupapa wānanga and its place in your rangahau, that's where I want you to be curious again about the things that you learnt in year 1 about kaupapa wānanga. And I want you to look at it in a new way and think about how it will come to life in a research project. What does koha look like when I am investigating people's opinions? What does it look like when I have to meet with someone who doesn't really know me and talk about a topic that could be quite sensitive? What does koha look like? What is kaitiakitanga in regards to looking after information, in regards to making sure I do a good job with what they've said? I'm not going to lie, I'm not going to twist it. You know, kaitiakitanga. What is ahurutanga around your own mental process of gathering all this information, and also about creating a safe place for your participant to come to feel comfortable to talk with you. And what is moriora? How does that look like in a research process?
Mm-hmm.
What are we trying to achieve? What are we in pursuit of? So that's why I want you to become curious about kaupapa wānanga. All right, so we will do some more teaching on this. This is just one of the sections. And the next section is in more detail. I want you to go into how you are going to apply the takipu of kaupapa wānanga to the process of your rangahau. And that's 150 words.
Mm-hmm.
So that is the pink section.
The one at the bottom.
One at the bottom, right? That's the pink section. Okay, page 3. Now the final part is worth 5 marks, and it's all about goals, timeframes, structure, and referencing. So for goals and timeframes, you'll see here I've given you 3 goals. You can keep those goals, I don't mind, or you can create your own. But these are 3 goals that I think would be relevant to your progress, because the goals and timeframes are about you taking ownership of your rangaho and thinking ahead to year 3, where you actually have to do the project. And so these goals are about the preparation that I need to do before I can do that. So for example, I've put 3 in here. For example, one of my goals could be I want to read and I want to annotate at least 3 articles relevant to my question. And I want to do that by the end of this year, by November. Goal number 2, I want to look at and really refine and confirm my final question by April next year, because that's when I have to submit it to the big panel to say whether I can or cannot do my assignment. So April next year is a goal. Yeah. I hope.
Morning, Miss O.
We're just going through the proposal template. And for an example, for goal 3, I want to read and investigate about my data collection choice. I want to find out more about that. I need to understand it. I need to know how to do it. I need to know why it's a good choice. So I've got to read that. I've got to Google it. I've got to, find out about it. And I want to be able to summarize that and know it by May next year. So those are examples. You can keep those. You can keep them, or you might like to change them. But they must have a time frame attached, okay? Otherwise it's just something airy-fairy. Something up in the air. All right? So, now format. Oh, I apologize that this is quite small, but it's written big on here. You're going to get points for the way that you format your writing. And so follow that and you'll have 100%. Make sure your work has a header. Make sure it's got a footer with a page number. The margins are normal. 1.15 line spacing. Calibri font, size 12, and underline and bold your heading. All right? The structure goes like this. This will be the way that you hand in your assignment. You can make it pretty, that's fine. You can, give your personality to it, but ultimately it follows this structure.
The title page.
Yeah, it has a title page, and on that title page it's got your topic title. Yeah, not your question, just your topic. It's got your Kornai code and your name and student ID. The next page is a thing called the abstract. We'll look at that next. Then the next page is your contents page. And the contents are 1 to 5. Yeah? Introduction, rationale, lit review, methods, application of Ngā Takapu. And the final part is the reference list. Okay? Okay, so 2 things to keep going. Go through the reference list just quickly, and then we'll go back to what is an abstract. All right, so reference list. You are going to have at least 10 after all of the ones that you've used throughout your proposal. It equals about 10. And so you're going to reference them in your list and have it correct, all right, using the APA 7 style. And so to get the APA 7 style, you go up to paragraph. So you write your reference in, highlight them all, go to paragraph. Make sure that you've got a hanging indent.
Paragraph hanging in.
Yep. And then make sure, oops, excuse me, it shouldn't be multiple. What should it be?
Double.
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 I will change that. It should be double. And then click OK. And your reference list will be correct.
So where do you actually find the paragraph on the paper?
On a document.
Go to home. Format?
Oh, Google might, yeah, it's not on Google Slides. You have to go to Word.
Oh, okay.
So what you can do is go to File and go to Download, Microsoft Word. Yeah. And so it will create a Word document for you in your Downloads area.
So I can open it the
Why don't you have Word?
I thought that was Word. No, it's not.
I don't know why you don't have Word. This is what I would. Do you have Word, Tama?
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
You're right.
just to show.
Is it this one, Fire? Yeah.
Oh yeah, so you got
Paragraph one?
Yeah, so this is what I'm looking for, this sort of taskbar.
Oh, right.
And it's in paragraph, which is where is paragraph? Huh. It's different for you too. It doesn't have it
Is it? Right here? Line and indent.
Yes, I can see you've got yours a line and indent. Oh yes. Oh, you're talking about this one, a line.
Go to paragraph.
Maybe it's gone too fancy looking.
I don't know where it's gone. I mean, indent left, right. Yeah, no.
But,
Left, center,
a
right.
line one, file, like left, center, right, justify.
Yeah.
Is this all right?
Well, yes, you'd be going left, justified, but where do you go to put the spacing between your lines?
Oh, right, yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah,
Over here somewhere.
yeah.
Lift the line.
That
look,
one?
Lift the line.
Yeah.
Since
So you'd go 2 for double. Yeah.
Okay.
But what I need you to find is how do you put a hanging indent, because it's different to what
That's
I've shown
different.
you.
Let's have a look.
It's not the one. Look, line spacing.
Let's have a look.
Double. Double.
Oh,
here.
yes, yes. No, it's over here somewhere.
No, this
Oh,
is
see, look, it's
different.
gone way too flash.
Look who's on the paragraph.
There should be a drop-down menu that's called paragraph
Yeah,
under
paragraph
your,
styles.
under your
Yeah.
format.
Is it this one?
Yeah.
please, with the paragraph
Oh,
style?
bring your chair here.
Yeah, paragraph styles
Yeah.
perhaps.
And then you
Align.
go to
Yeah, align.
Oh yeah, align and indent.
Bring your chair here.
you go to options.
Increase indent.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
there we
indent,
go.
you'd want to go to indentation options. Go to that one.
Oh, align and indent,
Yeah. Format, align and indent.
and then justify.
Yeah.
Or do you
Yeah,
want to go
this one
left,
first?
center,
And then
right?
you'd go
Increase.
indentation options. Go
Okay.
scroll right down to the bottom. Options.
Yeah.
And you want to go special indent and click on that one,
Oh, I got it. Yeah.
and it will go hanging.
Ah, hanging. Okay.
Okay.
And what about
Align.
left and right?
Okay.
Well, yeah, you justify your work to the left.
What number do you want to put on the left?
Just
There's a
normal,
number.
just normal margin.
0.
No, I think it's 0.5.
0.5. For both left.
Yeah, so alignment on your left, indentation is a hanging by 0.6. But this is,
Oh,
this
yeah,
is
okay.
obviously a different thing.
Okay, so hanging is 0.64.
So hanging indent is important. If you look at a reference list, show you, I think.
Well, this is just for the reference.
Yeah. For
Not
reference.
for my whole thing.
No, but that's
No.
that's the required way she wants it.
No, but not, that's just for a reference.
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
just for a different page. So I can just set up another page.
Okay, so yeah, if you have Google or Mac,
Reference.
it'll be different to what I've shown you. But ultimately,
0.5.
APA 7 formatting for a reference list is double spaced hanging, correct? Yeah. So that makes sense to me. But, yeah, Anna's found it on her style.
0.64 centimeters.
Yeah. So what, you just grab some text and you can
Right.
practice putting that into a hanging indent, double space.
Line spacing.
Let's just try this.
No, not multiple, be double, or 2.0. So go to a reference that you've written and have a go at putting it into double spaced. You okay?
Okay, here's my reference now. Oh.
Okay. So
So
on my Mac, I've got
This one here.
with the newer version of my
So
of Word.
highlight that reference.
You've got references,
highlight the whole thing.
and you can
Yeah.
just choose
Now
the
go
reference
to
format.
format and align indent option. Go to special, hanging, yeah, and apply. Yeah, so this one, you
It's
just
all-
want to make sure it's just up here.
Oh, this one here.
Yeah, just click it. Yeah. So you see how it's got the first line,
Yeah,
and then
hanging.
and then the second one is hanging.
Hanging. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. I'll try it. All
Yeah.
of it.
And then the last thing that you need to do is highlight, and you want to put it 2 spaces between each line.
It's here.
Yeah. So
Oh.
highlight again. Go to your this one.
what is double?
2.
and go to double.
Double. Oh.
Would it?
Okay.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
I've done
Thank you,
double.
fine.
I've
Okay.
done double.
I'm just looking for the Microsoft View.
So are we going to increase indent or decrease?
Let's see if we can do
Oh,
it
left.
with Google. With what
Alignment is
Okay.
So alignment is
Anywhere. Go to.
indentation is
So let's just practice with this. So highlight those things. Okay. So you want to make it double spacing. Format.
so
Align. Okay. Left.
So when I push on it goes away.
Yeah, that's alright. No, you don't seem to have as many options as. What is left alone? No, it's none of that. You want to create double spacing between your lines. Is it under here in normal? What does that mean? Style. No, it says edit. I don't know. It seems too basic.
This needs to be double spacing.
Yeah. So we can do it the slow way. So you'd go
I
here.
had to do mine's one by one. I mean, two.
Oh, sorry. You'd start here on the second line and go return, add a double space, and then no, just one. Sorry. And then you'd press tab. Sorry. Yeah. I don't know how to do it on here because it doesn't have the options.
It's usually over with the spacing.
Yeah, so highlight this.
So it's going.
You start from that side.
Oh, it's not letting you do it. Okay, so what we want is for this to be double spaced. It's not
Don't move your chin.
No, I'm fine. I'm gonna move. I just wanna see if this works. Okay. So I've got a double spacing. Cool.
It doesn't have the options that we need. How could we do it manually, like without the thing? Okay, so if I wanted to do it and I didn't have the tools, I'd go enter. So I've got my double space, and then I want to move this second line over. So I press tab. No, not tab. Okay, I'd use my space bar. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Oh, okay. Now this
You
one.
would not have to do it slowly like that.
Oh, I think.
That's a pain.
No, I don't mind. Just
So
as long
type
as I can
type them
find.
type them all in like you have, and then just do that slow process. Yeah.
Oh, I can find.
Okay. Let's go
1, 2,
back
3,
to
4, 5.
the abstract. Right.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Okay. Abstract.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Green box on the front page.
You're right.
Now, I have a bit of an issue with abstracts at this early stage because An abstract ultimately is something that you write when you've written your final report. Not really something that you start writing here at the beginning. However, you're asked to put an abstract in, and so this is what I want you to use as a model, okay? The trick about an abstract is that it is always written last. You don't do it first. So I've written up there in red, write this part last. Yep. The reason you write it last is because you need to take sentences from all of the other sections that you've written, and you're choosing summary sentences and you're plonking them like an introduction. So an abstract, another way to think about it, is like it's a snapshot, a photograph of your completed project. If all I was to read about your project was the abstract, I would know what is your topic, I would know your research design, I would know why you did it, I would know who your participants were, I would know what the outcomes would be.
Oh, right. Normally preludes the introduction.
It's a prelude.
Right, yeah.
Yep.
Is it like when you're writing an essay, I suppose, when the conclusion comes, you state whatever you've done it in the introduction.
Nice. It's like the conclusion of an essay.
Yes.
Good. A prelude in a story.
Tells you what's up.
A snapshot of what's to come. A trailer of a movie. Okay? So ultimately that's an abstract. So for example here, I've written in red, you could follow it. This rangaho aims to answer the question, and you fill in the gap. Specifically, bump, bump, bump. These are my 3 objectives. The topic of X is important to me because it is also important to primary school teaching profession because. So where are you going to get that information from that you've already written? What part? Introduction and your rationale. Yeah?
Yeah.
What was the question for you?
So I'm looking at the red writing here on the green section. Yep. And I just asked, where would you get the information for the first part of your abstract? And the answer is you get it from your introduction and from your rationale. And you choose short pieces from there to write up in your abstract. All right, the next part, the design of this rangaho is, and you fill in the blank. The data collection method will be, fill in the blank. Kaupapa Wānanga will be the framework methodology, and Ngā Takipu embedded throughout all rangaho process. Where do I get that information from?
The next section, literature review, methods, methodology.
No, not literature review, from the methods, methodology,
methodology,
materials and participants, yeah? So I'm summarising that information next. The intended implications of my rangaho are, so that could be from your lit review, it could come from your rationale, it's your final statement. And the abstract is worth 6 marks. Okay. So, one of the things I need you to start on is the introduction box, your grey section. Because I think that you can answer those questions because you've done Aramatuai 1. You can tell me what your topic is, and you can say how it aligns with the standards and codes. Okay, what's its connection? You can also tell me why you feel that your topic is important to New Zealand teaching. And you can also speculate or be curious about what would the implications of this topic, or knowing about this topic, how would it benefit? How would it impact? You can also start to do that. I also think that you can start this process, work through it, and you can come to a question. Okay? I think I have a couple more minutes with you, so I just want to share with you something about how to write a great question. We're not freaking out, eh?
No, I'm just
Feeling like, okay, I've got an assignment to do, but oh yeah, okay, I know how to do it. Okay, so this is a research question. This is what we're trying to come to in the grey box. When I say be clear and concise, your research question pinpoints exactly what it is that you want to find out. Not a general statement. I want you to be specific. A good question is essential to guide your project. Another key metaphor, it is an anchor for the boat that you're going to sit in. You want it to be stuck somewhere so you're not going to float off in every little rabbit hole. You want to be anchored to a question. Piece of seaweed on a rock, you want to stay there. You want to go and investigate and be curious, but you come back to that question.
All
Okay.
the answers.
Yeah, because your whole project is about finding answers.
Question.
Okay, so let's just have a quick little look. This is a strong research question, has these qualities to it. It's specific, it's feasible, it's original, relevant, complex, researchable, and focused. Okay, for an example, focused and researchable means that it's not based on value judgments, and it's answerable using credible sources, either through literature or through primary searches, like going to talk to somebody. I can answer this question. It's not something that is not answerable. This question does have an answer. It is focused on a single topic. So you don't want to use words like good, or bad, or better, worse, because they're subjective and they're not clear. Is it feasible? Is it specific? So can your question be answered within the scope of Bachelor of Teaching degree, year 3? Can it be achieved while you are still at level 7 of the curriculum? Or is it a question that's just too big and I need a whole team of researchers and it's a master's and doctorate project? If it is up there, you need to bring it down to what you can achieve. Because you will have next year, but you've also got to fit it in amongst your other corni and practicum and your life. Yeah, you don't have the luxury of being able to take a year off and go and investigate your problem. That would be awesome. We don't have that luxury. Is it complex? Meaning we don't just want a yes or a no question. Complex means I'm going to have to do some research about that. I'm going to have to talk to a few people. I'm going to have to do some reading, because the answer is not a simple yes or a simple no. It's you know, it's opinion, it's perception. Also, we don't want it to be easily found out through a Google search. Yeah?
Yeah.
You got to, you know, add some weight to your question. Don't use a question that's already been asked. Create your own question. So maybe that looks like you've got a different context. Your question might have been asked for primary schools of teachers of year 3 and 4, but perhaps you're going to ask primary school teachers of year 5. That's a unique question. Yeah. Make sure your question addresses a relevant problem, something that people will be interested in, something that you are interested in. There's nothing worse than getting bored with your research project. Focus on a gap in the literature, yeah? So that's why your literature review, the blue section, is asking you to identify where will your research fit? What contribution of consequence are you going to make?
And let's rewrite why you chose that question.
Yeah. I chose this because no one else is talking about it. I chose this because of what I saw on Practicum. I chose this because this matters to me and my identity and who I am as a teacher. Yeah? I chose this because this is what I didn't get at school. Whatever your motivation is, it's relevant. It's important because that's your unique position. The bottom point's important. You don't have to ask a question that's completely brand new, but you do have to ask a question that has some originality to it. You could explore a new angle, look at a different location. That's why we started with that activity about observing and being curious. Lots of teachers are asking questions about learning and how to form groups. Lots of people ask that question every day. What's your unique take on that? Lots of people ask questions about what's the benefit of learning in my home language alongside English. So what's your unique take on that? Are you going to look at a specific school that you think does it well? Are you going to look at a specific practice and investigate that? So finding a question is not as easy as asking a question. I want you to think about a research question has more weight to it than just a curious question. Yeah, and so that's why we need to go through this process, because the first box is a broad topic. We've done that. Why am I curious about it? That's grey. Or yellow is your sort of curious question. We want to elaborate on it again, and then we want to hone in, and then we want to elaborate, and we want to go in again. So it's a lot of questions and answers. You think, oh no, I've got it. I'm going to ask you, no, I don't think you've got it yet. I'm going to annoy you because you're going to get hoha with me and say, no, stop, I don't want to think about it anymore, Fire. I said, I want you to think about it some more. I need you to be asking the best question.
Mm.
What really matters? What's really important? What's your original aspect on this? What's your unique contribution? Yeah. Ka pai?
Aye.
Thank you, Blair.
Thank
Finished.
Wow.